The new laws requiring voters to bring ID were introduced by the Tory government to ensure the integrity of the voting system. But critics say they are a form of voter suppression that disproportionately affects ethnic minorities, the elderly and the poor. Why is that? First of all, not everyone has a valid form of ID. According to the Electoral Commission, about 3.5 million voters in the UK do not have any photo ID. And another 11 million do not have a passport or a driving license. That means about 25% of the electorate could be excluded from voting under the new laws. Secondly, obtaining an ID can be costly and time-consuming. For example, a passport costs £75.50 and a driving license costs £34. Many people who are on low incomes or benefits cannot afford these fees. And some people may not have the necessary documents to prove their identity, such as a birth certificate or a utility bill. Thirdly, the new laws could discourage some groups of voters from participating in elections. For example, some ethnic minorities may face discrimination or harassment when they present their ID at polling stations. Some elderly people may not have updated their ID or may have difficulty traveling to get one. And some homeless people may not have any permanent address or any ID at all. These are some of the reasons why critics say the new laws are a form of voter suppression that disproportionately affects ethnic minorities, the elderly and the poor. They argue that the laws are unnecessary and undemocratic, as there is no evidence of widespread voter fraud in the UK. In fact, in 2019, there were only 6 cases of voter impersonation out of 58 million votes cast. So how did these laws backfire on the Tories? And why did Rees-Mogg admit it? Stay tuned for the next section to find out. Thousands of people were turned away from polling stations at the local elections in May because they did not have valid ID, and there are fears that the problem could worsen at the next general election. This is the result of a new law introduced by Rishi Sunak, the Prime Minister, who claims it is necessary to ensure integrity in our voting system. But critics say it is a blatant attempt to suppress the votes of those who are less likely to support the Tories, such as ethnic minorities, young people, and low-income groups. According to a report by Democracy Volunteers, an election observation group, more than 1% of voters were denied ballot papers at the local elections because of ID requirements. Half of them appeared to be from minority ethnic backgrounds. A further analysis by the BBC found that 26,165 voters were initially rejected at polling stations across 160 councils that held elections. Of these, 9,577 did not return with valid ID, while 16,588 did.